Hari. That seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the coverings of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as the plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits. And the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. Last paragraph. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself, 12, 13, 18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yat Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental virtues, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Thank you so much for listening. And now we'll just discuss a little bit. And please let me know what is a cutoff time, when we will leave some period for questions and answers. Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
All right. So, as was mentioned by yourself, this is one of the Chatu Shlokis from Bhagavad Gita. It's primary. And we have gone through chapter 9 recently, which is has to do with confidential knowledge. The reason why confidentiality is a word that's thrown around in the Gita and, by the Acharyas and Prabhupada in particular is because we're talking about intimacy now. We're talking about getting really close to God. In many traditions, God is honored. There's a supreme power there, but there's quite a distance oftentimes between the residents of this planet and God himself. If we appreciate Bhagavan for who he is, he does have his own place. It's far away. But we also should appreciate that he's near at the same time. That's like an Upanishadic statement. God is near as Paramatma. He's afar and he's near. That's a perfect description of how God operates, near and far, short and tall, fast and slow, everything. So getting close to the Lord, yes, that is what this verse is about here, which is entitled "The Opulence of the Absolute." Getting close to him means having him on your mind. Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo. A devotee has his mind always on the Lord. And, whether he's dealing with his energies or not, using a lot. And so let's start for the openers. Matschita Mudgata Prana. Prana usually refers to like life force. So the life force, lifeline of the devotees has got to do with Krishna. like those of us who are Krishna, have Krishna in our lives, we kind of live from one Krishna festival to the next. And it's either Krishna directly or one of his avatars. We'll be looking at Janmashtami. It's coming up around the corner in a couple of months. And then we'll be looking at some other avatars, but they're all connected with Krishna. This is what we live for, isn't it? Just like you see in the larger community, people live from one holiday to the next. It's Easter, it's this day, that day, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, and so on like that. It just continues to be like that. But here we have a focus on God. Our festivals are of a spiritual nature, and we take pride in that. And not only just pride, but satisfaction. There's some key words here, tushanti and ramanti. They practically mean the same thing in this verse. Tushanti means getting pleased, and ramanti means a lot of joy, satisfaction. In fact, in the name of God, Rama, that term is there. Enjoy. God is to be enjoyed. We are also to be enjoyed. It's mutual, and it's through service that there is pleasure. It's through mutual people helping each other that there is enjoyment. Now, the last thing that Prabhupada says in the purport, he talks about a boy and a girl taking pleasure in each other's association. This is everybody's favorite pastime. Everybody love stories. Everybody loves love. And I think that's the basis of Hollywood, certain novels, just everybody wants to hear about romance. And it becomes very natural. It becomes very natural. And so also in dealing with the Supreme Lord, it also comes natural. How do people show affection to each other? Well, there's physical contact, and there's, talking about each other and talking towards each other, saying sweet things to each other. If you've ever have trouble in your relationship, please just insist on a session where you're just saying, we're only going to talk nice about each other, okay? And then you get reminded, hey, you're not such a bad person after all. My mind was trying to demonize you, and I was just trying to justify that I'm the angel and you're the devil. But really, it kind of works both ways, that there has to be a mutual situation. And that's the way it works with God as well. Krishna seems to make some demands. Give all your love to me, give all your attention. But we have to also bear in mind that Krishna has his thoughts on us too. He's always, saying that I'm with you. I'm with you. I remember this goes back a few years ago. Most of you are living in Canada, so we have Trudeau as our prime minister. Well, his dad was very popular, Pierre Elliott Trudeau. We sent a letter to him some years back, and he sent a letter back. I'm thinking about you. I'm with you. That's how he put it. I'm with you. And so that was very encouraging. Have your prime minister say I'm with you, like he went out of his way, or somebody did on his behalf, to say that I'm with you. Of course, somebody can just say it's for political purposes. I need your vote, so I'm going to be nice to you now. I'm going to scratch your back. You have to scratch my back. It kind of works that way. Relationships are like that. Yes, they are like that. But in bhakti, it's not motivated in the same way. It's selfless. It really is quite a selfless approach. We do things that are not with agenda in mind, and we do it simply out of love. And here's what some acharyas have given this example. A parent will change the diaper of their baby, right? And they sometimes have touch the untouchable. But because the love is so blinding by the parent to the baby, one is thinking, this is sandalwood pulp, sandalwood paste. So love is kind of blind. Let's refer to another shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Somebody can look this up maybe. Samahang sarvabhuteshu name tvishostina priyaha. So Krishna is saying, I'm not partial to anyone. I'm actually equal towards all. But then he offers a contradiction. He says, but those who submit to me, those who give their everything to me, I give them a little special attention. And so this is, it might seem like an area of contradictions, but it is not. It's just like the partiality that a parent has towards his offspring. That when you are a parent, you have children, you're sensitive about the needs of all the children. But when it comes down to brass tacks, as they say, you have a special fondness towards your own offspring. Well, after all, you've invested so much time into your children. There's 9 months of waiting period. And then after that, there's so much that goes on, so much feeding, so much cleaning, so much maintenance, comforting the child. It's 9, let's say, you're sleeping, you're having a good sleep, you got to get up for work the next morning. And it's 1:30 in the morning, and your baby's going, and then you can't just ignore it. You actually have to tend to it, and your sleep is disturbed, and you don't want this to happen. But, you have started something wonderful going by this gesture, and that is service to others. And especially close to home, the one that we bred, the ones that we brought into the world, they're kind of very special. They're very dear to us. So the verse is important because it talks about the mind of the devotees. Krishna's on their mind. And there's a famous song by, what's his name? Ray Charles. George is on my mind. Georgia was the name of one of his lady friends. And so it's a beautiful love song. You can look it up later on. And all you have to do is insert Krishna on my mind. And then you transcendentalize it. Ray Charles, Georgia on my mind. In our case, it is Krishna is on my mind. And with an old sweet song, And how do you demonstrate your love for Krishna? Usually it's by singing, it's through song and dance. People are in their happiest moments when they're singing, And it's either in the shower or it's, when people are a little drunk or something like that. Or like devotees don't drink, right? We avoid that kind of lifestyle. But we get drunk a little bit in our kirtan. It's so wonderful sometimes. It is a kind of intoxication. The kind of intoxication that we hear about what Chaitanya went through, what Nityananda went through. They're just absorbed. Everything else is sort of blocked out. Blank, everything else is blank. Just there's an immersion in the sound vibration. And one dances in ecstasy. We cannot wait till the COVID is over and we can get back into big numbers and have some real nice kirtan together, even to the point where we bump into each other and we got to just kind of forget everything else. Yes. In this shloka, we're actually looking at what is in the heart of the devotee. It's Krishna, and it works vice versa. And also it is stated here that there is this bodhyanta parasparam. That means there's a sharing. I don't like that word preaching at all, but sharing might be a little more, let's say, newcomer friendly word. Bodhyanta, that means sharing and amongst themselves. Prabhupada translates it as serving, actually. Service. And the point about satisfaction. Who doesn't want to be happy? Ananda Maya Vyasat. Ananda Maya Vyasat means that we are pleasure seeking. We are all engaged in looking for satisfaction. This is our major thrust. We are all looking to be happy in all that we do. When it comes to a meal, you sit down and have a meal and you enjoy the meal, you know. And usually whoever cooks for you, unless if you're yourself a manifested cook, you do the things that you like to have. So we take, even this just for prasadam, we cook in such a way that we please Krishna and we please ourselves. And when it comes to education, we'll go into a field of learning where we'll land a job, hopefully, in an area that we're very comfortable with. So again, we're looking for pleasure. When it comes to deciding who's going to be my life partner, naturally you choose someone who's you're going to be naturally attracted to. Of course, some of us have come up from a background where you didn't have much of a choice, but there was an arranged marriage. Would that be the case for some of you? Yeah, you have so much love for your parents that whatever they choose, you think, okay, that's the best for me. All right. That formula doesn't work so much these days, but I bet you, $1 million that the old system worked better than the new system. Parents were really intuitive, and this is something the ladies worked hard at. It was their job. Men would go out and go for the big hunt, and women would stay home and look after cooking, the family, the house. It was their palace, and they would be thinking about their children. Who would be a good match? The ladies were always good matchmakers. I think ladies were very fully engaged in the past, and I know it's a touchy subject, but they were fully employed in these kind of major responsibilities. So compatibility was established oftentimes by the parents, and from what we understand, the system worked out quite well. And you leave everything to your own judgment, which is usually based on, let's say, impulsiveness, spontaneity, and impulsiveness. Love doesn't always work that way. It takes a little time. Now, I'm going to tell you something a little bit personal. I first saw pictures of Krishna, and I thought, okay, they look kind of ethnic. All right, okay. I don't really see God in it. Okay. And also, I looked at pictures of Prabhupada, I thought, okay, here's an old man. Okay. And then I read a little bit about what he was saying and said, okay, that's good. I understand it. And, it wasn't like, for me, love at first sight, whether it was with Krishna or Prabhupada. It wasn't like that. It's something that grows on you. And I think real love is more organic. It's like that. Sometimes people ask, Hare Krishna, oh yeah, it's, I get two responses. One is, oh, I like this chanting so much. It really gets me absorbed, gets my mind off of bad things. And if you stick to it for a while, then you hit a plateau of chanting Hare Krishna, where you see it's a little bit blasé. I do it every day, and we do something else different. Mind the same. And the same answer we would kind of get, well, it grows on you after a while. It takes a little time, don't expect for beautiful things to happen overnight. Like Rome was not built in one day, as they say. Rome, which was an amazing, cosmopolitan place, it was an amazing fortress of beautiful, gorgeous architectural buildings. And it wasn't built overnight. Actually, it was built a lot through slavery. And that meant hard work. Whenever you talk about slaves, you have these images of sweat, and fatigue and muscle. And that's how so many people have lived for so long, to be able to produce some of the most beautiful buildings, architecturally speaking, in the world, that are some that are still standing. So it was, it wasn't always such a nice situation. But the point I'm trying to get at is that there is, to have to achieve something or obtain something that is of great value, it takes a little more work than something cheap off the dollar store. It's hard work. A relationship is to be worked on, whether it's in this material world or whether it's to do with Krishna. So, and that it all begins with connecting with Krishna's devotees, accepting Guru, accepting Krishna's philosophy. There's usually no problem with accepting prasadam. Nobody has to preach to you till you're blue in the face. You have to like this prasadam. No, it just kind of comes automatically. Although some of us, we take Kerala. We said, oh my God, this is so bitter. Gee, who could even consider this to be food? But after a while, you might take it if it's prepared nice and say, oh, this is not so bad after all. It's making me feel really good. Yeah. So Krishna consciousness is really about a feel-good situation. God must feel good. I must feel good. Everybody participating is feeling good. The only time we don't feel good is when we look outside of our devotional circle and we see people are having a tough time in life. They're struggling. And we understand, we identify what the problem is. The problem is that they have not been acquainted with bhakti. That's it. And so that's where we fit in. That's our job, our mandate, is to try to share Krishna consciousness with others. And in that sharing, we become advanced, we become progressed. And even though it gets a little rough sometimes, Prabhupada was speaking, and he wrote once about, he was talking about pandemics and how the medical workers have to go there and full force, go into the infected area and work very hard, to help the people overcome the disease that's, basically tearing people's lives apart. So you have these fearless, medical workers who are kind of sacrificing like anything. And that's the way we also have to see ourselves. I would say to your group here in Windsor and Sarnia and wherever else, don't get too comfortable with your bhakti. There has to be sort of a gnawing feeling inside, an itch. Okay, I've got a good life. And because I have bhakti, well, I see other people also need some love. And let me, through gentle persuasion, through maybe a little bit more force, but through some tactful means, share Krishna consciousness with others. And that sometimes takes a little extra hard work. To tax your brains. Prabhupada used to use those kind of things. Tax your brains and do something nice for Krishna. And the thing that makes Krishna most pleased is when people come out of the woodwork and they take interest in spiritual life. After all, everyone is a devotee. Nityasita Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabanai. That's Bengali, and it means to say, love of God is in everyone's heart. And our job is to kind of just pull it out. Anybody you see today, after this class, after maybe you could be going shopping, or you go to the park, maybe you go for a swim in Lake Erie or Lake St. Clair. I doubt it's a little too cool still for some of you, I guess. Well, any people that you see, just realize that they are Krishna's devotee. We don't need to draw a big, thick line and say, here's devotees and here's demons. Because sometimes the stories are like, it's very clear cut, black and white. We don't have to do that. We simply have to see that everyone is Krishna's devotee. And we just want to get the best out of everyone. I remember when I was walking through Gita, Utah, and there was one man, and I was walking coming into the desert area, really, and they were doing repairing the road, and one guy came over in his pickup truck, and he pulled over. He knew what I was doing, and he had like his language wasn't too refined. You know what I mean? He had 4-letter words, and it wasn't RAMA. And but he stopped to talk to me, and he gave me some water because it was hot. I was walking through the sun, and so even though he was not so sophisticated, I could see, well, there's some good feeling, good vibrations about this guy. You know, for him to come and stop and talk to a stranger and give water, and he went out of his way. So there, bhakti is coming through. Love is showing itself. And even when people are a little polite, they sometimes say when you cross the border into Canada, which is less population, the people are a little nicer, perhaps, and I think maybe it has a lot to do with the fact that there are fewer people and places which are more densely populated. Everyone's on each other's nerves, just too many of us. India is an interesting place. People don't get irritated. The more people you put in together, the more they seem to like it. Personally, I like to have a little bit elbow room. I'll stretch my hands. Don't come anywhere near my circle here. I don't want. It's interesting. In many places in India, you have like free body rub massage because the crowds we're rubbing against each other. Anyways, we were talking about closeness, and definitely closeness to Krishna. That's what we want, that kind of closeness. Seemingly, some people feel there's closeness. I had one of my devotees here. He went to Vrindavan. He went to the Bunki Bihari temple. He offered obeisance because the curtains were being closed. And when he got up, his wallet was missing out of his pocket. Someone got really too close to him. Those kind of things happen. Pickpockets, they always come around to holy places because people come with money. They come from all over the world, and they're very trusting people, right? Pilgrims are trusting people, but you have to remember that there are a lot of people out there with not good motives. They don't have good motives. So, and yet at the same time, let us admit there's something good in them. I don't want to contradict myself now. Some people have bad motives, but still there's something good inside of it. Krishna Prema, that's love of God. So this love of God is achieved through a gradual process in devotional service. It begins with hearing and chanting, and you accept a guru, you take shelter, and so on like that. And finally, you get what we call bhava, and you get prema, love of God. And this is all compared by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Bhakti Lata. Bhakti Lata means the plant of love, of devotion. And it starts with the seed bija, right? I don't know if some of you have started your gardens yet. Okay. But when you start your garden, it's magical. It's one of the most amazing things. The plant comes out. You look next day or 2 days later. Oh, wow, it's grown so much. It's looking so colorful. And you feel really proud. There was a time when I was taking not mung, but urad dal. Many people were donating, especially our Punjabi folks. They love urad dal. So I was soaking them and then giving them a bath. I called them my little babies. And after a day or two, they form a little tail, and the tails would get bigger and bigger. They're sprouts, right? And I was always looking forward to going to the kitchen and giving a bath to my babies, because that's what they thrived on. Being a sort of a cold, let's say, a dark place, and and with being bathed regularly. It was so nice to see my babies. I won't forget them. Yeah, so regular attendance to your devotional creeper, your plant, comes in the shape of chanting regularly and following the 9 processes of bhakti. But it all begins with hearing and chanting. That's when the seed of bhakti gets planted. And regular watering is required for a plant to grow. And like I have behind me an aloe vera plant, can you see it? It doesn't take much water, but it does take some. It's like a semi-desert plant, sorry. And it thrives on some water, but not a lot, but it needs some, right? So I would like to draw a parallel to what Krishna says in the Gita. Nahavikramanashasti pratyavaya navidyate svopamapishadarishmasya trayatai mahato bayat. And that simply means that a little endeavor of bhakti, little effort in devotion will shoot you up spiritually. It'll allow you to progress very quickly. So a little bit is required, and if you can give a lot, that's also necessary. If you have a lot to give a lot. If you have a little to give, everything is kind of proportionate and relative to how much you have. But give something, invest in your devotional life, and something good will come out of it. So eventually what happens with this devotional creeper, it's all an analogy really, but the plant grows tall, like we sometimes see sunflower plants. They're massive flowers. And have you ever driven by a sunflower field? Oh, they're beautiful. And all of those sunflowers are, the heads are turning towards the sun. They're reflecting. And they're tall flowers. That's what they are. That's the point. You can go into the sunflower field and you get a little bit lost. Now, this devotional creeper, it's supposed to get very tall, and it's supposed to be like the jolly green giant, just grow up. And again, it's an analogy. It's supposed to penetrate through the layers of the universe. And, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. They're like 8 layers of coverings over the universe. This plant penetrates through there, enters into the Jyoti, the Brahma Jyoti, spiritual sky, and then waves high to all the planets. And finally, it reaches the topmost planet, Goloka, especially for those who cultivated bhakti towards Krishna. And then finally, the plant reaches Krishna's own lotus feet. You have those vines, they kind of crawl, they go into a certain direction, almost like they go, it's like a slow snake. And they end up, pointing somewhere. And this is what the Bhakti Lata is all about. The Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed is planted by Guru and Krishna. So we give them credit for someone advancing spiritually. So our job is to take some seeds and spread them around, just like we take pride in our gardening. Let us take pride in our gardening of conditioned souls. When Jesus was around, fishermen were attracted to him. And that meant they'd go out into the sea and they'd collect fish for their family's meal, right? So what Jesus said to his followers, he had 12 disciples, and they're called apostles. And he said, I want to make you fishers of men. Like, go out, you don't have to fish all the time. Fish for men, meaning people. Get people interested in this bhakti, this line of service. And so that's Prabhupada's mood as well, go out and encourage people. So One thing that Prabhupada did when he was in Toronto, he had a tremendous response from the Indian community. This is 1976. There was an amazing wave of immigration coming from India. They were new settlers into Canada and the US. And particularly in Toronto, he was noticing such a large group of them, and even spoke in Hindi on the morning walks, just so that, to encourage them. And one thing he said too to some of these people who were professional in their fields, he said, please help these boys and girls, meaning the local boys and girls who gave up their everything, their lives, to join me. Please help these boys and girls to spread Krishna consciousness. And he wanted all kinds of people to come, because we are an international society for Krishna consciousness. So people from all different backgrounds, walks of life can feel comfortable with us. I think many devotees have learned how to entice and make people feel comfortable about Krishna consciousness. Like, I'll give you some examples, practical examples. If you're going to, let's say, have a Sunday feast, and or you want to do some prasadam distribution, tone down on the oil and the spices. Just let's not put a lot of chilies in there, if any at all. So that's one example. If you want to make a pizza, might make you laugh a little bit. You want to make a pizza and get people interested, outsiders, please do not put turmeric in there, and do not put jeera, because it's got to be Italian-like. It's got to have that flavor. So even though we like to push our cultural norms on people, really we have to think twice. And if we want to interest people in our culture, we have to go a little extra mile to make them feel happy. In some cases, you might find that if you advertise Krishna consciousness nicely and you want to hold a program, it might be an idea for guys not to be in dhotis, ladies in saris, just to make your local people feel more welcome. But food is a good thing, real nice music, nice kirtan, so if you can develop your bhajans over there, and also a way to present the philosophy. Those three are big drawing cards, but perhaps the most important one is addressed in this verse here. It's kind of like the kindness, the love, that is, and the joy that comes. The bodhiyanta parasparam, the sharing, the showing kindness. The Dalai Lama, he said something about kindness is my religion. Okay, so you can interpret that in many different ways, but there's a lot of truth to that. One reality behind our history in India is that a lot of smarta brahmanas have made participation for the common people very uncomfortable because of sometimes their arrogance, their snootiness, and so and that is a demonstration of lack of love. So we need to be gently, let's say, administering Krishna consciousness to the people, and then we will be satisfied. When you share, you're showing you really care, and when you share, that's also like hugging a teddy bear. I'm just doing some rhyming right now. So for a kid. So these are some of the points we want to raise in terms of how important it is to advance, and the formula is to do as others are doing. This is plural, but we're talking about their lives, devotees in general. They're engaged in katha, they're engaged in singing, they're engaged in sharing. And they're doing it together, like a happy family, right? And as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. So let us consider that. If we want to change the world, it will take a united front of a lot of pure devotion. And then we become a dynamic force, right? Prabhupada wanted a dynamic force. Like we're entering into the Juggernaut season. And Juggernaut means, or the English word Juggernaut, which is derived from Juggernaut, means an unstoppable force. Meaning the chariots are coming down, there's God manifest with big eyes and big smile, and there are hundreds of thousands of people coming down the Grand Road in Puri. And so that British heard about Juggernaut, which means it's the name of God, but they took it to be, look at this incredible force, all these many, many people, and these big chariots. They were kind of really impressed with the festival. So let us be like a Juggernaut and share Krishna consciousness with others. Okay, any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for
Yes.
wonderful talk. Dr. Rajan has a question. Please proceed. You can unmute yourself, Dr. Rajan.
I can't hear him.
You're on mute, Prabhuji. Rajan Prabhu, you're on mute.
Sorry. I'm going to say, thanks, Maharaj, for awakening us to the fact how we can live happily and be kind and loving each other. And I like the very beginning when you said, all you have to do is to be able to say and see good things in the other person. And hopefully that other person will do the same thing to you. And we won't be in the current world situation if that can be combined with the love and kindness when we say things. Thank you, Maharaj, for a really wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much. And, with the COVID-19 going around, there's so much negativity, and even amongst devotees, with everyone so divided on vaccine is good, vaccine is not good, and stop fighting, stop pulling out negative things. Think positive, that's why when I came on, I was saying that if you want to stay happy, don't follow the news. Well, I don't think that maybe that's a little simplistic to say that. When you follow the news, you are associating with people. And if the thrust is negative, I'm sorry, you have to use Windex for that. Yeah, that's okay, but you have to use Windex. So I'm sorry, I have somebody cleaning here. I wish you could clean my heart. Yeah, so there's a lot of negativity out there, and people are taking strong sides. Vaccine, the virus is even better than the vaccine. The vaccine is worse than and then you got these people. The vaccine is like God sent, Oh, there's so much polarization going on. It's all quite negative. And devotees are supposed to be absolutely optimistic about things because there's a lot to be happy about. So we count blessings. That's what a Vaishnava does. Counts blessings. Good. Anybody else?
Thank you, Maharaj. Please proceed. Please proceed.
Yeah, so when we talked about sadhana as well. I've noticed this, that when sadhana, there's always ups and downs. It's the 16 quantity of, so let's just take chanting for example, 16 quantity of rounds we can more or less meet every day, but the quality keeps going up and down. Any suggestions to help keep the quality improved?
Yes, it seems to be the nature of the mental landscape, up and down. So I guess some practical hints would be, I'd have to give it a little deeper thought, honestly, but what I would say is before you chant japa in particular, you have to approach it with reverence. There has to be some humility that has to ooze out from our side. And, the name is big, it's God, right? So approach it with all humility, and maybe you will do that. Maybe you will offer a prayer before you start your japa, right? One other way to, a technique that you use just to keep up a little more attentiveness is do a little pranayama before you go ahead. Take in some good breathing, take in some good air before, so you can be quite more focused. And these are, some people chant at a pace where you can hear it, not too fast, not too slow. Just like being on the highway, if you go too fast, you'll get a ticket. If you go too slow, you're causing hazardous reactions and accidents, right? So approach it from a sattvic point of view, and don't be too attached. It's just like, say, one day you love your husband or wife, and one day you don't. Sometimes they're irritating. Sometimes the kids irritate you, but behind it, you love them, right? So a moment will come when all that's irritable will go away, and you'll just have what's left is just love, kindness, softness. That will come in time. But we are dealing with a turbulent mind, and don't get too, I would say, don't get too emotional about it, or don't get too agitated about it. So Krishna tells Arjuna in terms of meditation, he says, keep at it, and also in a detached frame of mind. Okay, even if you don't feel great about your chanting abilities, still, keep at it and be detached about it. Don't be attached to the results. Just be happy with the fact that you're doing it, and be as attentive as you possibly can. It also helps to have pictures of Krishna in the room where you are, and so on like that. Or if you're going for a walk outside, see Krishna's energy in the shape of the trees and the sky and the dirt and the flowers and so on. Try to penetrate a little deeper to see that Krishna's all around us. And certainly we want to beg from the Guru, please help me with my japa, with my sadhana, that it will be quality. And that's where success lies, in having some dependency on those who can award blessings. So those are a few points. Maybe there's about 8 points there, something like that, which I'm not sure if you got it down, but some practical adjustments need to be made, and also some psychological adjustments need to be made. Are you approaching chanting? Oh my gosh, I have to do my 16 rounds now. This Guruji asked me to do it. Instead of that, just make an adjustment in your attitude. I get to do 16 rounds. Yay! It's kind of like that. Do people actually say, "Oh, I've got to go out. I'm going to make money"? No, they're usually, the successful people are excited that said, "I'm going to make money. I'm getting up in the morning, and I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm taking a good shower, putting on some fresh new clothes. I'm going to do some prayers. I'm going to take a little breakfast. I get to do this. I get to do that. This, that, this, that, this, that." And that is the attitude of the people. Oh God, another day. Tamaga. So certainly approach with sattvic qualities, and approach the holy name, the chanting, with a dependency on Krishna. Krishna, I know your name is very powerful. Please allow me to experience that power to some degree. All right. I can write a book on that, the answer to that question. Anything else? Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji, thank you. I have a question. Can you please tell us a little bit about anartha nibriti?
Anartha, well, we don't have so much time now, but
Mhm.
anartha, basically it refers to those things that are unwanted for our devotional life. Out of 6 serious practices, you accept those things which are favorable for executing devotional service, and you reject those things, dismiss those that are unfavorable. So the anarthas are like weeds, You're trying to get that, sunflower plant going, you're just trying to get it going, and there's weeds all around. So the weeds are the things that create shade, or sometimes weeds choke other plants that don't have a chance, And so it's the anarthas that we must eliminate, and see that they are detrimental in our devotional life. So anything that's usually selfishly motivated is an anartha. If I'm in the front of the queue because I'm so important, if that's the motive behind what you're doing, if there's the anarthas come from that source, from that ego platform. So let us again, prayer is powerful, and Krishna, please help me with these anarthas, these tendencies, bad habits, whatever the case may be. So let's use a little more prayer. I think that's abundanam. Abundanam means, engage in more prayer. And there's many different kinds of prayers, but the kind of prayer we're talking about, like Arjuna says in the beginning of the Gita, says, Krishna, you are strong, I'm weak. Please make me strong. Beautiful sentiment by Arjuna. Okay. I guess that's about it.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for this wonderful answers as well, Maharaj. Maharaj, one other family recently have moved from Michigan also. Wonderful family of devotees. Divya Tirtha Prabhu, Nayan Sundari Mataji, Mukunda and Rasika. Divya Tirtha Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories. Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you.
So you came from the States, you moved up.
Michigan, Farmington Hills, Maharaj.
Oh, yes, for sure. I've been there. Yeah. Yes, nice. Okay, well, welcome. Bienvenue. Bienvenue. Swagatam, right? Or whatever. Yeah, welcome. Thank you. It looks like the community is growing. I think it's progressing, and Krishna will help you with your endeavors. At some point, you'll have to get organized, and we're willing to help you in some way if you want to build up a community there. We're doing, last year we opened 5 centers during the COVID here in the Greater Toronto area, and we'd like to branch out to places like Windsor and London and so on.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Like you were beautifully explaining, the weeds also grow when we actually cultivate devotional service. So I'm trying to be growing in spiritual life, but the weeds are growing as well. So seek your blessings, Maharaj, so that we can remove those weeds or minimize those and nourish that beautiful tree of devotional service. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well said, well said. Bravo. Okay, so we're going to get together again next week, next month, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
And I should set the date for that, I guess, just so I'm ready. We're talking about July.
Yes, Maharaj. July 2nd week comes on the 10th, Maharaj. 10th July is the second Saturday.
Okay. I'll have to get back to you on that because usually I go to Montreal for their Rath Yatra. I'm
Yes,
not
Maharaj.
sure what they're doing this time, right?
Okay, Maharaj. Whatever is convenient to you, Maharaj. We are fine. We are grateful, Maharaj.
Well, I'm grateful to you. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me, all right? And please, everyone, take care, be safe, and we'll see you then next month, all right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thanks, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Sonath
Haribol.
Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhus and Matajis. We'll see you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.